have for football still runs deep. This week's CNN Hero is sharing that love of the game with kids who don't get to experience the excitement of the gridiron firsthand. Meet Blake Rockwell.
When you have a child who is dealing with a life-threatening illness, their treatment protocol might be 2-3 years, and their tanks start to go dry. You a big OU fan?
I am.
Awesome. Our game day experiences provide an opportunity for a family to get out as a family, just being there together. And days like this, they really motivate the kids to continue their fight.
To see the full VIP all-access experience that Blake gives to these children, go to CNNHeroes.com right now. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching.
U.S. President Donald Trump puts the future of the Iran nuclear pact in doubt. He says Washington will pull out of the agreement if Congress and U.S. allies don't take a harder line.
Former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus is interviewed by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. More interviews with other former and current White House officials are expected.
And firefighters in California report some progress as they battle the deadliest fires in the state's history. But there are fears that strong winds on Saturday will allow the fires to spread further.
It's just surreal what's happening there. Welcome to our viewers here in the United States and all around the world. I'm Natalie Allen.
And I'm Cyril Vanier. This is CNN Newsroom from Atlanta. 9 months after taking office, Donald Trump is aggressively dismantling what his predecessor Barack Obama accomplished during 8 years. Against the advice of his own cabinet and key U.S. allies, the U.S. president on Friday declared that Iran was no longer in compliance with the landmark nuclear deal negotiated during the Obama administration. The fate of that agreement is now uncertain.
Mr. Obama's signature health care law is also under fire. On Thursday, Mr. Trump ordered an end to government subsidies to help the poor buy health insurance. For more, here's CNN's Ryan Nobles.
Friday was promise-keeping day at the White House, and for the Trump administration, that meant going after some of Barack Obama's key accomplishments.
President Trump is trying to make good on major campaign promises with 2 key policy moves that could have dramatic consequences.
I am announcing a new strategy to address the full range of Iran's destructive actions.
Mr. Trump unveiling a new approach to the nuclear agreement with Iran, decertifying the deal and forcing Congress to come up with a plan within 60 days.
We will not continue down a path whose predictable conclusion is more violence, more terror, and the very real threat of Iran's nuclear breakout.
In addition to forcing Congress to make the deal tougher, the president promised new economic sanctions and sanctions against Iran's Revolutionary Guard. He warned that if he doesn't like the congressional plan, he is prepared to pull out of the deal completely.
In the event we are not able to reach a solution working with Congress and our allies, then the agreement will be terminated.
This warning matches the president's strong condemnation of the Iran deal on the campaign trail.
The Iran deal, forget about deals between countries. This is one of the dumbest contracts I've ever seen of any kind.
But pulling out completely could potentially isolate the U.S. from key allies that support the Iran agreement. It also stands in contrast to the recommendations of the president's key advisors, like Defense Secretary James Mattis, who argued the U.S. is better off in the deal.
Absent indications to the contrary, it is something the president should consider staying with.
And it comes despite the fact that the administration concedes Iran has lived up to their end of the bargain.
My view on the nuclear deal is they are in technical compliance of the nuclear arrangement.
While the move may make U.S. allies and diplomats nervous, it will likely be welcomed by the president's supporters, who enthusiastically cheered during his speech at the Conservative Values Voter Summit. In addition to pointing to his plan with Iran as an example of his attempt to make good on campaign promises, the president bragged about his decision to withhold cost-sharing reduction payments to insurance companies as a first step in repealing and replacing Obamacare. Republicans have argued for some time that the payments to insurance companies were unlawful. Today, Mr. Trump argued that the payments were just making insurance companies rich.
As far as the subsidy is concerned, I don't want to make the insurance companies rich.
But Democrats contend that the White House is purposely attempting to dismantle Obamacare in an attempt to force Congress to take action, a move that could result in many Americans paying higher insurance rates. Democratic leaders Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer called the move, quote, a spiteful act of vast, pointless sabotage leveled at working families and the middle class in every corner of America. The president argues he's just following through on his campaign pledge.
In the last 10 months, we have followed through on one promise after another.
And it's not surprising that President Trump is focusing on health care and Iran. If you paid attention to his campaign, a key theme was an implied promise that he was going to do everything he could to undo the Obama legacy. Well, he is now taking direct aim at two of Barack Obama's most significant accomplishments. Ryan Nobles, CNN at the White House.
Many U.S. allies reacted with dismay to Mr. Trump's decision on the Iran nuclear deal. They say they will continue to honor the international agreement.
Iran's leader went on television immediately after Mr. Trump's announcement. He suggested Mr. Trump had acted out of ignorance.
This is an international multilateral deal that has been ratified by the UN Security Council. It is a UN document. Is it possible for a president to unilaterally decertify this important international deal? Apparently, he is not in the know.
Now, President Trump's assessment that Iran is not complying with the deal conflicts with the view of international inspectors and his own Secretary of State. The thorny issue now goes to the U.S. Congress. It has 60 days to pass tougher legislation toward Tehran that satisfies the president. That includes taking a harder line on Iran's ballistic missile program, which was not part of the original nuclear deal.
International reaction to President Trump's announcement has been swift. EU leaders are defending the current agreement, and the UK, Germany, and France all say they are committed to the deal as is.
It is not a bilateral agreement. It does not belong to any single country, and it is not up to any single country to terminate it. We cannot afford, as international community, as Europe for sure, to dismantle a nuclear agreement that is working and delivering, especially now.
And it is succeeding in stopping Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And that is very important. It's a good thing for Iran and for the world. We will work very hard to persuade our friends and partners in the US Congress that we think the deal has value. And there are many people in Congress who want to fix it, not nix it.
Other parties to the deal are Russia and China, who said they support the deal as is. Russia's foreign ministry stated this: attempts to use such methods to solve foreign policy problems, which will affect the fundamental security interests of other countries, are doomed to failure.
But Israel and Saudi Arabia are supporting Mr. Trump's confrontational stance toward Tehran.
President Trump has just created an opportunity to fix this bad deal, to roll back Iran's aggression, and to confront its criminal support of terrorism. That's why Israel embraces this opportunity, and that's why every responsible government and any person concerned with the peace and security of the world should do so as well.
Saudi Arabia's state news agency reported that Riyadh welcomed Trump's strategy and said that lifting sanctions had allowed Iran to develop its ballistic missile program and destabilize the region.
John Thomas is with us now, CNN political commentator and a Republican consultant. So, John, Obama's legacy is being picked apart quite clearly. The Iran deal may implode after what Mr. Trump said on Friday. The Affordable Care Act, you know, the health care system in the U.S. is being dismantled as well. As a conservative, is this what you've been waiting for?
Yes, at last. Trump is starting to deliver on some of the promises that he made. I mean, but you've got to remember, this is what he campaigned on. He said that he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We haven't quite gotten that, but we're a step in the right direction. He said not just that he was going to decertify the Iran nuclear deal, he was going to rip it up. In fact, I think it was a contest in the Republican primary of who was going to rip it up faster. You're starting to get, and of course, He's going to bring the jobs back and make our economy grow again. And we're starting to see the economy, of course, grow. Unemployment numbers are low.
Well, the economy had been growing for quite a while.
That's true, but the unemployment numbers are dropping.
Also have been dropping for quite a while.
Consumer confidence is a 13-year high today. The metrics are good. I'll give you credit in the sense of they were starting to go up at the end of Barack Obama's term, but they certainly have continued under Donald Trump. So as a conservative, I'm happy to see this in a step in the right direction, but there are huge challenges still ahead, and Trump doesn't have any major legislative wins like tax reform or health care. He's got to get that done.
Yeah, that he doesn't. Let me take both of those issues, the Iran deal and health care. First of all, the Iran deal. Mr. Trump wants a better nuclear deal with Iran. He wants to curb Iran's aggressive actions in the Middle East and its missile programs. In other words, he wants to look at Iran's behavior globally, and he wants to make it more global than just a nuclear issue. What if he can't get a better deal, though? He's telling Congress, get a better deal with Iran. We got a terrible one. What if he can't do that?
I think he ends up ripping up the deal and just going back to sanctions. I think that's what we end up seeing.
And is that what you're happy with as a conservative?
I think what we've got now is such a dangerous deal. I mean, Trump calls it a bad deal, but I think that really doesn't articulate what makes it bad. What makes it bad is that what Americans think are the #1 sponsor of terrorism, so that's bad, and it really does nothing. Our ability to understand if they're complying with the terms of the deal, meaning not making nukes.
Other parties to the deal say they are. France, the UK, Germany, the EU.
That's right, but most elected officials and senators, Rex Tillerson, this current administration, thinks that there's not enough teeth in the deal to certify whether or not they're actually complying, so they want more teeth. Then, of course, in a few years from now, we can't stop them from developing nukes.
Yeah.
And so for us, this is so dangerous. That's the issue. It's not just that we would like a better deal. It's that it's a dangerous deal, and we've got to change it.
All right, healthcare really quickly. Obamacare, here's a tweet by Donald Trump just a few hours ago. Obamacare is causing such grief and tragedy for so many. It's being dismantled, but in the meantime, premiums and deductibles are way up. And for our international audience, that means how much it costs you to get health care in the United States. So Mr. Trump is reintroducing cheaper insurance policies that also give you less coverage. They're cheaper for a reason. That's good for you?
It is. I mean, I don't think that as a male I need to be paying for female birth control and other things that don't apply to me. I think at the end of the day, the problem you're seeing so far with Obamacare is premiums are going up, and that's because a wide range of coverage is being offered. I think I should have the ability to buy the coverage that I want to cover the things that I want. I don't think I have to subsidize other people for things that I'm never going to use. So I think it's a good thing. This current system we have under the Affordable Care Act is not working. Trump hasn't proposed a perfect solution. You can see we can't even get our own party to agree on it. But we do need changes, because I know, for instance, my premiums have almost doubled here in California. And I don't think that's right either.
John, real quick, I want to hear your view on Mr. Trump's overall political strategy. And he seems to be using the same tactic when it comes to immigration, when it comes to Iran, when it comes to health care. He creates some degree of chaos or urgency and puts Congress in an uncomfortable position where they have to fix a problem because he's putting them on the brink. And he's done that for, he started the clock ticking on Dreamers, on the Iran nuclear deal, on the health insurance market. Is that what's going on? Am I reading this right? And do you think it's a good strategy?
I think you're partially right. On the one hand, with DACA, about the Dreamers, the president wants to see action on that. I don't think he wants to completely repeal DACA. He doesn't want to force all of these Dreamers.
But he started the clock ticking on the Dreamers, and he laid that problem at the doorstep of Congress.
You're right, and he had to, because remember, he campaigned on fixing immigration, building that wall, repealing and replacing health care. And the beautiful thing, but also the problem about our government here, is that the president has the power to authorize things and veto things, but not the power to drive this legislation through Congress on his own. So he gets the conversation going. Now, you can say it means that he's creating a crisis. I think he's just bringing up the things that need to be solved. And the real trouble here is that the Republicans control all branches of federal government right now. They should be working together. Speaker Ryan, Leader McConnell should have been working to solve DACA, should have been working to repeal and replace Obamacare without Trump having to drive it from the top.
John Thomas, thank you very much for coming on the show. Pleasure speaking with you today.
Another issue involving the U.S. government, the investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 election has taken another step forward.
Yeah, the special counsel's office interviewed former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus on Friday. Jim Sciutto tells us what that was about.
We're learning that special counsel Robert Mueller's team has now interviewed Reince Priebus, the former chief of staff to the president. This interview took place here in Washington at the offices of Robert Mueller. Priebus's lawyer tells CNN that it was voluntary. He was happy to cooperate, but it shows that this investigation now extending to the senior-most advisors to the president. And Priebus is key not only because he was chief of staff until recently, but he was, during the campaign, the chairman of the Republican National Committee during the campaign in 2016 when Russian meddling in the election was taking place. The list does not end there. It is our understanding that the special counsel also wants to speak with the current communications director, Hope Hicks, the current White House counsel, Don McGahn, as well as the former White House spokesman, Sean Spicer. Topics he's interested in looking into: the firing of James Comey, the FBI director, the firing of National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, as well as a meeting on Air Force One that took place as the New York Times was first reporting, a meeting in June 2016 between Donald Trump Jr. and Russian lawyers who were promising damaging information on Hillary Clinton. All of this showing how seriously the special counsel is taking those various lines of investigation. Jim Sciutto, CNN, Washington.
A Taliban-linked group is being accused of rape and authorizing the murder of a baby by the family that they held hostage for 5 years. Canadian Joshua Boyle and his American wife, Caitlin Coleman, were captured in 2012 while backpacking in Afghanistan.
Boyle and Coleman arrived in Canada Friday with 3 children after Pakistani forces freed them the day before. Boyle appeared angry as he accused his kidnappers of horrendous crimes.
The stupidity and the evil of the Haqqani network's kidnapping of a pilgrim and his heavily pregnant wife, engaged in helping ordinary villagers in Taliban-controlled regions of Afghanistan, was eclipsed only by the stupidity and evil of authorizing the murder of my infant daughter, Martyr Boyle, as retaliation for my repeated refusal to accept an offer that the criminal miscreants of the Haqqani network had made to me, and the stupidity and evil of the subsequent rape of my wife, not as a lone action by one guard, but assisted by the captain of the guard and supervised by the commandant Abu Hajar of the Haqqani network. God willing, this litany of stupidity will be the epitaph of the Haqqani network.
And Joshua Boyle speaking there in Toronto.